Welcome back, fellow armchair generals. This is Gamer 1745 with my continuing playthrough of Hearts of Iron 4 with BlackICE Mark II. Okay, we are in an interesting situation. If you haven't been following along, we've got the British fleet here trapped. My own fault. I was trying to block the ability to Germany to invade, but it would appear that they've scripted an invasion, and then Germany has been able to send in a garrison unit here, at least. So we need to push the Germans out of Norway, actually, and not just create a stagnant front up here that absorbs more German units than it takes to do. The Italians are pushing, actually pushing into France. We are battling the Italians in North Africa, and we are doing some operations here. Now, let's see. What we can do here is... Oh, they're retreating out. Oh, why did we come over here? I don't like this map as well as Hearts of Iron 3. But they should starve pretty soon. I don't think they can trace supply out. So let's continue this. Support that attack.
Come on.
Yes, we are facing some attrition out here in the desert.
Ready, sir.
Wow, the Italians are fighting us off. Well, uniform factory level 4 has been reached.
Listen up. Yes, sir. Ready to move.
Well,
Commands.
I want to shorten this front instead of go after there first.
Ready, sir.
And of course, they've now moved in big time. Won't do me too much good.
Attention.
Now come up, check up here.
Ready,
Okay, so we've got them here.
sir. Move out. Move out.
You actually move to there. They're almost ashore.
Ready,
We're
sir.
going to change these divisions and we're moving them up to here instead. The Germans were able to fight that off, okay.
Commands. Ready to move.
Going to fight this time, come on. Oh, good. Advancing there. Now, how are we doing down here? Okay. We've cut them off. That's a good thing. They're in danger of cutting us off, but oh, they've
Ready to move.
pushed into there. So
Yes, sir. Ready!
Not the best.
Move out! Listen up!
We need more forces everywhere. I don't know whether I should abandon France. Yes, ship low strength here. We need to get out.
Yes, sir! Commands!
Ah, yeah, well, that is a shame.
Orders! Attention! All in! Orders! Commands!
How are we doing down here?
Yes, sir!
Well, you come up. Let's see, you guys come up here. See if you can march down that way.
Attention!
Good, we can kill this division, looks like.
Ready! Move out! Listen up!
Well, you know what I should have been doing, and I haven't been, is, oh, they've already maxed that out with air power. Okay, well. Let's put up some. I should have done this earlier on. No, down here, got some Blenheims, I think, yes. There we go, that'll help a little bit. Interwar torpedoes. Yeah, well, supply the trap fleet, but also get the trap fleet out of there. If I can get Kristenstad, I can get them out. Is ultimately what I hope to do. That's sort of what's keeping Britain safe is its fleet, and this could be a really bad situation if we don't have it. Okay,
Ready.
here, you division, you come over here. How are we doing in France still? We're still holding north. They still haven't gone around the Maginot yet. The French are still messing around there, and we are still doing this BS here. Okay. Good. Like an artillery division there of some sort. Did these guys ever get here? No. Well, we're moving the clock slowly. These guys.
Ready, sir.
Support that attack. Okay, you've won there.
Ready.
We'll wait till you're better organized. They'll lose their organization sitting out there. Okay, we've got 2 divisions here, so
Orders.
you come right into there. See if you can cut off the Germans. Now, do we have any more at home that I want to send out?
Yes, sir. Move out.
Okay, foreign conversion tech, good to know. Research finished, research finished. Okay, well.
Ready.
No, stop.
Under fire.
I just wanted to test that. Well, let's see. We have this airbase, don't we? So let's move these guys forward here. They're just way too far back to be effective bombers. This will help our North Africa campaign. And these guys also come forward and deal with those there. Yes, I know it's still red, so it's barely coverage. Because again, the Arizona is way too effing big. Well, let's send one of these divisions up to here. Okay, there's marching.
Listen up. Ready. Keep on moving.
Oh, stop attacking.
Taking cover. Orders. Under fire.
Oh, those all sound like very interesting topics.
Orders!
Okay, counterattack.
Taking cover!
Well, let's put you into the fight.
Move out!
Looks like we're winning the airspace now again. Ah, we can produce more. Factories. Well, since we are looking at a possible major naval defeat, let's build a few more naval factories to see about replacing things. That would be good. And let's come over look at our... We still need more vehicles. Yes, sniper sections, not that worried about. So... we can upgrade these, so let's do that. Where are our main supply trucks? Here we are. Get that to be more production. That's hindering us, I believe, in several areas. You go there.
Attention!
You counterattack with them supporting you. Maybe the Norwegians will join in. If they're retreating out of there, you go there. We want to keep these guys out of supply. Ah, the Axis miners, yes. They were a major disappointment to the Germans. I know they thought... They looked at the Slovak army and realized that it was actually pretty good once they had taken over partially the Sudetenland, but even taking over the rest of it. They thought it was pretty good. And they thought they were going to have a decent army in the Slovak army, but because obviously the Slovaks had been part of the Czechoslovakian army, but it turned out that the great bulk of the NCO class particularly, but also the officers, were Czechs, and they had excluded the Slovaks from it. I don't know how overt that policy was, or whether it was just sort of covert, and the idea, oh, we just like this guy better than this other guy, and the reason they liked him better was that he was, you know, Czech, so promoting him better, or whether it was, you know, a stated policy, I don't know. But so the Slovak army, even though the Germans knew it was going to be a massive army, just never performed as well as they thought it should. And that is the thing, and people watching later on YouTube, Django asks, or was talking about a series of books he's reading on Operation Barbarossa, and mentioned that the next one, or one of the next volumes he's going to get, looks at the Axis miners. So the Slovak army was never what they thought it was going to be, because it really takes a lot to build an army, and not just throwing in you know, a lot of people through basic training. You got to have an institution of it, both officers and NCOs. And NCOs actually, I think, take a longer time building up an institution of them than the officers. So that was a disappointment. The Romanian army looked fairly big on paper. In sheer numbers it was, but it just wasn't well equipped, wasn't well led. I know von Manstein thought most of the Romanian generals were very poor, and only Antonescu himself he thought was an effective general. And the Hungarians, well, I think they were a bit better than the Romanian army, but if you look back at traditional Hungarians, and I don't know if we're going to have too many watching this channel, but they don't have a very good military history. I'm not saying they didn't ever win battles. They most assuredly did. But of the Austro-Hungarian forces, and traditionally the if you will, the Habsburg Empire, going back, definitely had different ethnicities and different formations, meaning they never tried to mix everybody together. But by the time the Napoleonic era, it was a clear distinction between, if you will, the Austrian-German army of the Habsburgs and the Hungarian army and territories of the Habsburgs. And the Hungarians just never made it up to the Austrians' level. And then we can look at the military institutions and ability of fighting in World War I. Even the Austrians didn't do that well against the Italians. And the Italians, like they were in, a lot of Italian artillery in World War II, frontline artillery in World War II, was World War I leftovers. I mean, that they had made either before or during World War I, and they were still using them. Italy just isn't that industrially prepared for a war. And you look along the Isonzo front, yeah, part of it is terrain. But Austria was not able to effectively defeat the Italians. And Rommel got his Blue Max, the Pour le Mérite medal, finally for Caporetto or some, maybe butchering that, some very high mountain in this region. Probably more in what is Italy during this period, but for capturing a mountain with very light casualties and capturing a hell of a lot of soldiers, Italian. And he was sent there as German units to reinforce the Austrian ones because the Austrians weren't capable. They started the damn First World War. People forget that. Well, the Serbs. Who did we just get to subscribe? Sorry, I guess I missed that. Who subscribed? Just heard the sound. Thank you, whoever. Not subscribed, followed. There's a very different situation on Twitch with that. Sorry about missing who it was. So the Austrians, well, it was the Serbs that killed the Archdukes, so I understand why the Austrians went. But the Austrians went in, they were unable to even effectively defeat down in here. Effectively, they ongoing stuff. They couldn't defeat the Romanians who came in, and at first Rommel, after his initial Low Countries operation where he gets injured or whatever, goes to hospital, back with his unit, they get sent to, because of the Mountain Division, to fight the Romanians, to support the Austro-Hungarian army fighting the Romanians. Then he gets support as, German units supporting on the Italian front. So the Austro-Hungarian Empire isn't able to even function, defend whatever their southern areas. The Germany has to not only fight on the Eastern Front, not only fight on the Western Front, they've got to send in elite forces to the other fronts, and as well as backing up the Turks and whatnot. So that tells you how weak Austria was, and it's partially an military institution, partially it's a production situation. How many rounds? If you can't shoot your machine guns all day long because you can't produce enough bullets, there's a problem. Because machine guns are designed, you turn them on and you shoot. Yeah, well, that's what I mean, Matma. If the Austrians can't defeat the Italians, now the Italians can't really defeat the Austrians either. It's more or less a stalemate. And then you look that between the Austrian Germans and the the Hungarians. The Hungarians are the second level of armed forces. That tells you they're pretty far down on that list. And so if, some of you like some of my stories, the Army of the Two Sicilies, the Naples Army, was during the Napoleonic era, and was known for running away. And it would almost literally, just sort of see the enemy, note that the enemy was, half the size of it, and then they would run away and from the battlefield in mass. But it was often pointed out that the officers had already run away, had deserted the post, and the men were just going like, our officers have left. We're out of here. Now, got to keep in mind, the king of the Two Sicilies at the time was a Bourbon monarch from the French monarchy that had succeeded to the Spanish monarchy, but one of the cousins or whatever, as some generation or so before, had been made king of the Two Sicilies down here in southern Italy and Sicily. So basically, they were a Spanish empire. That by this period no longer Habsburg Empire, but it sort of started out as the Habsburg Empire, but Spanish Empire puppets. So the officer class was a mix of, if you will, foreigners, Spanish, French, others that had lived here for some time, as well as locals, but they didn't have a strong sort of loyalty situation. So this army got to where, see enemy, we run, and maybe not surrender if we're inside really good walls of some fortified opponent and we have food and they haven't yet to fire a breach, make a breach in the wall. That's how bad it was, and it continued to be that way through the end of the Napoleonic period. Except the other kingdom of the Two Sicilies. There were at one time 4 Sicilies, because there were 2 kingdoms of the Two Sicilies. The other kingdom of the Two Sicilies, and I forget which, I've known it. I even have a book on them on my shelf here, but I'm forgetting which one. Was one of Napoleon's marshals was made the kingdom of king of Two Sicilies. So you had down in Palermo, the Bourbon king of the Two Sicilies. I think maybe a Louis, but I'm not sure right offhand. Supported by the British. Nelson was sort of a big fan of it, or he was given some medals by Nelson, and Nelson, with his British Navy, was keeping the French out of Sicily, so the king was in power. So that was the one supported by the British. Their real capital is up here in Naples, is the one supported by Napoleon. But those French troops that were recruited locally in here and used in southern Italy, as well as some of them, fairly large numbers, units sent into the Spanish situation of the French occupying, Spain, and they fought. I'm not saying they were the equivalent of a French Guards, Napoleonic Guards regiment or anything like that, but they weren't see enemy, we run. They were see enemy, we fight. I'm not saying they were fighting as good as French units. They weren't part of the Grand Armée, who was getting ready to invade England and then later sent into Russia to die, but they were used effectively. So what that tells me is the leadership was much stronger under the Napoleonic appointed officers, and I don't know who all the officers were. I presume a lot of them were French officers, and they were better leadership and probably also more willing to shoot deserters from the, you guys ran from the battlefield, we're lining you up against the wall and we're shooting you. So next time when this happens, you can maybe be killed by the enemy, or you will be killed by us, and we are the great Napoleonic army, and you can't just get rid of us. So I think there was some of that going on. And the British did also recruit up some units and lead them from this part of the world as, auxiliary type forces. And they did okay. And again, those officers I know were a mixed bag of officers from all over a world of anti-Napoleonic elements. Various French or anti-French factions from up in here, that elites that were displaced by the French Revolutionary armies at first when they came in under Napoleon. That's why it's all, to me, the Napoleonic era, even though first under the French Revolution, as well as royalist French officers, some Swiss officers, various things. Some of these units were formed with some British officers, and these units did all right as well. So it's a leadership question, and not just a national character question. There are national characters, and this is like Greeks, and I don't know what modern Greeks are like today, but Greeks in ancient world were the shock troops, the heavy front, we are confronting the enemy frontally troops. And that was for the Athenians, for the Spartans, whatever, through the Roman period. They continue to operate that way. By the time the British show back up as sort of individuals and small units to help Greece fight for its independence from Turkey, they were expecting those type of troops, in which what the British Army, fighting at the Battle of Waterloo, is standing at the line, fighting the against the Napoleonic masses, standing to and fighting bravely and winning. They're expecting that because most of the officers types that are coming down here after the Napoleonic Wars are over and wanting something to do have read Greek history and Roman history, so they know this. But what they find are people that are unwilling to stand in battle. The Greeks, they were just literally unwilling to stand in battle. So whenever the Turkish would show up, they would run away and then stay up in the hills and take pot shots at the enemy. They would, snipe at them, raid them, and run away. They were willing to fight, but they weren't willing to stand and fight. So it wasn't like they were running away and giving up. They were running away and going to the hill. When there was a small group of Turkish outposts, they would get up enough manpower and courage and maybe take it over. But once a real Turkish unit, and then they have, a Turkish unit of equal size shows up, they would all run away and not fight. So there is a national character situation here. And these are with British attempting to lead the Greek troops into what they knew at the time was the best sort of tactics to win battles. And trust me, a lot of the officers weren't stupid. They weren't going to try to do, hopeless odds to stand against the Turks. And they had seen the Turks being kicked by the asses by the French and knew that they could be done. But the Greek character had changed. So this is what you find a lot, what's going on in this part of the world. A lot of these people in here are not willing to stand and fight. They're willing to fight, but a lot of them are skirmishers, and that's the way they want to fight. They want to, unless they're in a really strong, fortified, entrenched position, they want to raid the enemy, attack, and if things aren't going well, split back out there, regroup, and do something else. And so that's very unlike the American or the Western way of warfare now. And it's a raiding culture of war. And it's a different way of doing war. It's not necessarily wrong. It's just different. And if you're willing to sustain you got to realize that this is sort of the warfare that the Scythians and the Parthians fought the Romans for so long. And I would say mostly geography kept the Romans from winning. But it's this skirmish warfare model versus sort of the Romanary legionary model. So there is a national character on this. So I think the Hungarians, it's more of a leadership question, but I also think it's a sort of a raiding question because they are the situations, Hussars that the West knows comes from Hungary. Also, there's a different sort of Polish Hussars, but it's a different sort of culture. So sort of my diatribe on that kind of stuff. Okay, well, let's continue this. We're building up some strength in here. Once these guys get to here, they're going to attack into there and see what we can do. They're facing attrition, which isn't nice. Okay, we're holding Oslo, which is good politically. How are we doing in North Africa? Well, nothing's collapsed in.
Commands!
Let's just take that province away from them. Well, we're raiding a lot of transports. And we're battling some... I don't know what South Africa's doing, sending convoys through there. What is... We've got a couple of subs against the German Navy. Did they take out the North Fleet? Maybe. Okay, we've got this fleet here. Do we send... Also has a lot of... No, that's good. Do we send them into the East North Sea or not? We've got, what, 71 ships. What are these? Subs, 40-some subs. No, I don't want to piecemeal this battle out. Okay, you guys get to Norway, or get to the next province. Okay, Supermarine, great. That will help us out. We will convert over to manufacturing those, I think. Let's see if we can improve our... That's the heavy fighter version. We'll do the light bomber version. And let's... Let's see, Spitfire. Yeah, let's convert these up. I know that's a really good production line, but let's do that. Uh-oh, what's happening down here? I really wish the pop-up menus, or pop-up notifications would come back.
Keep on
But
attacking!
they are dead set against that, which I think is a mistake.
Move out!
Well, maybe we could kill that little pocket. We have air supremacy, good air support, attacking from multiple directions, encryption advantage, though they do also have some air support, the Italians. Good. Well, if we can kill those pockets off, that'll definitely help us both free up units. Now, it looks like the French are going to hold at least along this river line. And I would say just because of me, because they probably would have shifted units out before they New units got entrenched. The Germans probably would have struck there, so we're holding there. Okay, come on. Okay, you're here finally. Great. So, attack,
Yes, sir.
attack,
Ready.
attack,
Ready to move.
and you guys, just you attack
Move
there.
out.
Supported by you. That's mostly a pinning action there.
Listen up.
Get back into it. Get back into
Move
it.
out.
Keep going.
Come on.
Support that attack. Okay, come on, guys. Pound them down.
Ready.
The other two. Oh, damn.
Move out.
Come on, people.
Yes, sir. Attention.
Win this. I know we're in the winter. I know all that, but win this. Engineering company improvement. Great. Reconnaissance, yes.
Ready to move.
Come on, break them, break them, break them. You can do it. You can do it. See, you can do it. I said you can do it. Keep it up.
Move out.
'Cause there, they just broke.
Ready, sir.
You come down into there. Good. What does Australia and New Zealand? Sniper rifles. Okay, accept. We'll take that. How are we doing in North Africa? Yeah, I know that, but I don't like that. Okay, we've got this pocket. Great, 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 great. You come down here. You come up here through to there, and we're going to take that unit out. But it doesn't in Hearts of Iron 3. Port attack continues. Okay, well, looks like we're crushing some Italian submarines there, and our subs are going after some of their convoys there. Good. A lot of other battles. As you all know, the mini-map is returning to Hearts of Iron 4. Oh yeah, but it does in 3. If you've got a support attack and the main attack is
Ready, sir.
you know, you're already actually engaged, not just trying to get engaged, but okay, well, see, now that you're moving into there, we're going to attack with these guys. Just to stop it so these guys can get in and occupy that province before they can come in. Okay, well, we took out an Italian ship. They got through. We lost all of our, well, most all of our subs. Okay. Our Navy, our Air Force is keeping the Air Force off our backs. Good.
Ready to
Come
move.
on, are you in there? No, you're not even in there yet. You've got a long ways to go.
Ready, sir. Listen up.
Yes, I can get fixated on one spot. Okay, these guys are coming. Oh, did these guys ever make it to there? Yes. Good. Okay, well, you come over here. Okay, oh, and we took these guys down. Good. Okay, so you march up to here. Hopefully there's nobody there, but we will see. You keep marching down that way. Good. Okay. Again, attack. We're all just going to all in and attack in those forts. Get these guys into position. Delay. Okay, they're almost there. They've still got a ways to go. Let's see. Is the British Raj actually at war right now? Just got that notification. Yes, they are. Good. Well, you know what we're going to do. Let's build over here a military factory. And one here. That will help keep them more in the empire. I know it means we won't get the stuff, but hopefully they will put it to reasonably good use when they're fighting the Japanese in Burma. Come on, get there. Okay. Attack. Oh, come on.
Ready. Orders.
Let's mess with them by attacking over here as well. We've already taken that one province back. All that work.
Ready. Move out.
Not organized well enough. You guys come down here. Oh, whose resistance are occupied? Okay, they are. Well,
Listen up.
let's see if we can kill that unit. Good. Well, at least North Africa is going reasonably well. And we're still holding the Maginot Line this time. I wonder if I should send these guys south. April. No, I think the Germans are going to get there around Maginot soon enough. I thought we were going to be able to hold that with 3 divisions, but the Germans got there too soon. Their ace pilot, good.
Ready, sir.
Okay, you guys, how long are you going to take to get there? However long you take, you get there. Okay, well, let's look here. Okay.
Attention.
We'll come up to Bergen. And let's see what we can kick out early. Way to the top. Okay. No. Those. Yes, okay. I know they're only partially trained. Nah, these guys, these will be a help, hopefully. Mountain units. And let's edit them before too long here. Well, let's do a medium artillery support battery. That will help as well. Okay, yeah, so we don't have sniper, we don't have enough mountain warfare equipment, okay, but still that'll make them a little better. And so these guys up here in Scotland.
Ready to move.
Let's send you up to Bergen as well. Keep them out of being intercepted by the Germans.
Yes, sir.
I really want to get my fleet out there, otherwise I'd be sending the non-mountain units to North Africa.
Yes, sir.
They'll be sending the mountain units up there. Well, I don't know when I'm going to restart the Kaiserreich. It won't be forever, but it may be a little while. What I am thinking of doing is the first few episodes is play them live on Twitch, and so then we can talk about it as I play it. I'd really like your help then. Right now, I don't maybe have good questions or remember well, but I would definitely like to help play Kaiserreich better. And I'd like to try it. Yeah, you can just go there. The political point question. Do I like it? Well, in some ways it's the leadership points from Hearts of Iron 3, in that your diplomatic actions are tied to it. Yes, generally I like it. I agree with their philosophy that playing switch out the leader every few days, few moments is unhistorical. And, we should have done this before. Oh, no wonder our manpower is so bad. I haven't been paying attention to that. Let's go here. There we go. Now we've got manpower back. Haven't been paying attention. And things like this is shifting all these different things should have a cost. What my objection is twofold. One, I think the cost is a little too big. Now, that's arguable that you should either be given more political power if you're a mana points or whatever. But I also don't like the and BlackICE is not as bad as other things, not as bad as standard. I don't like the idea that this all starts out like blank, because very clearly there were, and we could discuss, various major arms concerns going in Britain in 1936. And even if you look at these as, and often multiples of these, but they weren't necessarily very active, or who's the most predominant one, is so that you should start out with at least some of these filled with the historical starts, and then as time goes on, use your points to swap out to different options. So I don't know, having a good researcher for battleships or something when you're building battleships, but then later for Britain, you've got a bunch of battleships built, but you want to build a bunch of escorts or design newer escorts, destroyers and whatnot. You could switch to a different company to focus better research and better results to doing escort type model, and at periodic points switch over. So generally speaking, I like it. I just don't like the start at base 0 or base limited and then fill your cabinet. I would rather start with a historical cabinet or nearly full historical cabinet, and you just use it to make changes over time. That's how I would do it, instead of this progressive way. So generally, yes, I like it. The leadership function, and I know, Django, you're mainly a Hearts of Iron 2 player, but you've watched enough me playing BlackICE. The leadership function is good, but is overly broad, in my opinion, for Hearts of Iron 3. The idea is that spies come out of the same sort of pool that officers and researchers and diplomats, which those three are sort of, if you will, university type educated people, I think is incorrect. But I would also argue that you can't just take a bunch of diplomats and put them in a naval armaments design bureau and expect very shortly, when I get done with this talk, we're going to take a break, and then I will come back to making another episode just after this. I guess if you want to take a break now, and you won't miss anything. Because I'm good with history and that kind of thing, but I'm not going to do well designing gun barrels or something that uses a lot of math. So I would sort of break that up, and that's sort of what it's doing. Now you're talking about the difference between let me just end this episode here, and we'll talk a bit more. That would be good, because I'm seeing the time. Thanks everyone for watching. You on Twitch, don't go away. And of course, thanks for liking the videos on YouTube. And if you haven't already, please subscribe, and of course post questions, suggestions, ideas, corrections. Love hearing from you. See you next time.